did y'all miss us? Because we sure missed you. Look, watch, like, and subscribe to our channel at Sister Sis 1988, as well as follow us on all our social media platforms at Sister Sis 1988. We are coming again with another special guest, but before, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Jamie,
I'm Latoya.
And I'm Calandra.
and we have this beautiful queen coming and joining us all the way from Barbados. Barbados, y'all. Very beautiful place. And like I said, on my bucket list. I plan on getting there very soon. Miss Kamisha, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and give a small synopsis, and then we'll jump into these questions.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. As you've heard just now, my name is Kamisha King, and I am from the beautiful island of Barbados. I am also a visionary strategist and a life purpose coach. I have an organization. It's called Queen's Mindset. And Queen's Mindset is a women's empowerment organization where we help women to birth their visions and walk in their purpose. And that's a little bit about what I do and who I am.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, Miss Kamisha. I'm going to hand it over to Latoya.
All right. So, can you share with us your personal journey and how it aligns with the mission and vision of Queen's Mindset?
Definitely. So I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. I know most of us, we can relate to some level of dysfunction, but I think my family won that award, to be quite honest, because they were absolutely just completely dysfunctional. So having grown up in that space, seeing my mom and my grandmother not getting along and not having the relationship that I would have been seeing from watching television when I would sit in front of television and see families coming together, doing family stuff and, that loving stuff. I never saw that among my family. There was always an argument, there was a fight, there was something that just kept happening. And when I kept seeing this level of dysfunction, I just kept telling myself that this, it was a disconnect for me because I was seeing something different on television. So I wanted what I saw on television, and I believed that it could be possible for me. And I made a decision that I was going to end that level of dysfunctionality, and it was not going to happen with me and my family. So I decided I was going to pursue greater. I was going to do whatever it took so that I can have a better life, because we came from very small, humble beginnings. And that's really just a special way to say we were poor. Let's just be honest, we were poor. And there were many times we didn't have light, we didn't have water, because my mom had to decide which bill she was going to pay. And it was always a struggle with something or the other. But what it did is that it caused me to become very resourceful. So in doing that, in pursuing a better life and coming out of that place where I started to dream bigger. I started to want more. I started to change my environment, who I spoke with and the things that I was doing. And what I did not recognize was that it was kind of creating or setting me up for where I am today. And I attended a business convention. And at that convention, the speaker was talking about jumping, that sometimes you just have to jump. Many times we want to have it all together, and they were saying, just jump, just do it. So, and we went on break. I went back to the hotel room and I took my phone out and I started a page called Queen's Mindset on Instagram. I didn't know what that meant for me, but it came so quickly. And then I started doing like videos and sending out messages and empowering people, because it was already inside of me and I was already doing it with my friends and, my inner circle. I just never recognized that this was going to birth and go to this extent. So now I thought, okay, I'm just going to have Queen's Mindset shortly, and it's just going to be a page. But then God did so much more with that, and we started unfolding. So the connect came is that first I had to deal with my personal belief, my personal faith, what I wanted, and it was coming out of my struggles, coming out of my own situation because of what I was faced with that made me pursue greater. And when I did that, then I was now pushed into a different space now to help other persons to now begin to walk in their purpose as well. And that's how my personal and then the business kind of collide together.
Okay.
All right. So, in your experience, what are some common challenges women face when trying to become the person they desire? And how does Queen Mindset address these challenges?
Oh, I love that question. One of the main things that I have found in working with women is many of them have fear. Some of them, they have an idea of what they have been called to, what they've been called, whether they've been called to the marketplace or called to ministry. where they are. So they have an idea, but then there's the fear that blocks them, because many of them, they don't think that they're worthy. They don't think that they have what it takes. They don't think that they're equipped or any, this kind of say, oh, I'm not an expert in this. But the best place to become an expert is in your experiences. And anyone with an experience is an expert, because once you've experienced it, you can talk about it. And many times they don't understand that and they don't see that. So what I do is help them to really begin to pull that curtain down. Many times it's really about their self-esteem, their self-confidence. Do they really believe in themselves? And that's what we work on. We start to build that first, because it has to start with them. No one's going to buy anything or do anything with you if you don't believe in it. So we work on building that level of belief, helping them to understand. So it has a lot to do with their identity. And of course, everything I do is rooted in Christ. As a Christian, I have to take them back to the word and what God says, and why they are called for such a time as this, because you can only know who you are if you go to the person who created you. So I take them back there, and in doing that, that helps them to unfold. But I'm finding that the more I work with women, the more we are all similar. Like, we all have the similar things. And the main thing is really that fear. When you break that wall down of fear, you see those women coming out and they're just going and being triumphant. They're just doing things like, oh my God, I didn't know I could do that. I was like, yes, you can. It's just a lie that was told to you. But now they're seeing that, hey, they're doing it. And that's what I have been finding. And that's how I've been working with them.
Okay. Beautiful.
So what strategies or tools does Queen Mindset provide to help women clarify their visions and take steps towards achieving them?
So we have a strategy that we use. It's called Reimagining My Reality. And it's really built on my story, everything that I went through. So we walk them through various steps. So the first step is that we walk them through the belief. They have to be able to believe in themselves. And as they believe in themselves, then they're going to have to build trust. And there's trust in God, and trusting in Him, knowing that He knows what is best for you. And these are the things these are the pillars that will hold up faith. Because in everything they're going to pursue, they're going to have to know some level of faith, because, faith is the evidence of things not seen. And everything is grounded in the word for me, because I rely heavily on the principles of God, because the Bible really tells us how to get it done. So I teach them it based on the principles. So those same tools, I teach them, because for me in my journey, that's what I had. The one thing that my mom and my dad did was ensure that I went to church every Saturday and Sunday. My dad being 7 days Adventist, my mom was Pentecost. So I had 2 services to go to, and they ensured, even if they didn't come and even if they didn't follow, I had to go. And I was there every time. And I'm grateful that they did that, because I learned so much. I recognized it was really my faith that helped me to keep it all together. So for those tools, I instill in those women, going back to that place, because when they're coming because they're trying to find clarity. They're trying to find a sense of direction. They want to be able to connect with what their purpose is. They want to understand what the vision is that they have and how they can execute it. But in building anything, you're going to be tried, you're going to be tested, because you can't build muscle without resistance. And that's why we find when we go to the gym, from the time you work out, that first workout, when you come back, you're sore. And you're sore because you've just stretched some things that you didn't stretch before. And so when we take them to that place where they begin to stretch some things, it means now the faith has to come into great operation, because now you're going to be tested. Do you really want it? Do you think, because all the thoughts are going to come like, am I good enough? Do I think this is the right time? Do I have enough money? Is anybody going to listen to me? So then those tools of building that faith, that trust, and that resilience is what we do. And then another thing that we also do with them is that I like to take them through, those steps of really going to the mirror, standing before the mirror. And I know sometimes it sounds really crazy, especially when I do it with them. They're like, that doesn't make sense. But when they're finished, they're like, oh, we understand. So when you go to the mirror, you look in the mirror, and the question I ask them is, tell me what you see. So by looking into the mirror, the average person is going to say, well, I see my eyes, I see my, like those things. But what I'm really asking is, what do you really see? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you have been called to? And those type of questions, if I had to ask you to introduce yourself, how would you introduce yourself? What would you say about you? What are the things about you that you like? So it's like causing them to really identify with who they are. Is a very unorthodox way of doing things, but it gets the job done, because when they start to question, they go like, oh my God, that's so deep. Like, I can answer that question. And they have to be able to answer that question, because when they go out in their pursuit, they need to be able to be firm and confident. So we apply those levels of tools to ensure that they get there.
Beautiful, beautiful. So for me, my question is basically, can you tell us more about what it means to be a visionary strategist and what a life coach, a life purpose coach does, as well as how you support the women in birthing their visions and walking in their purpose?
Definitely. So we a vision strategist is all about mapping the dream, mapping the vision that you've been called to. So many times we say, oh, I have a vision of maybe having your own home. We've never written it down. We've never went anywhere to look for a home. We've never really, all we just do is just kind of like mention it. Most people just mention it in conversation, and then it kind of gets tucked away. So in going through that as a visionary strategist, I help you to map it right out. So step-by-step plan. Because the problem is we are either talking about it, sometimes we're writing it down, but then there's no results. And then people go back and say, yeah, I did goals, I did all that stuff, but nothing happened, because you lack the execution. Because in the execution process, that's where you're going to be tried. That's why you do a lot of work on faith and on building their trust. Because if you don't know that, and if you're not solid, when circumstances and situations arise, you're going to back down and you're going to say, okay, this maybe not be for me. But for us, when we map the vision for them, first we provide some form of clarity. So when we go through it, we kind of ask them and give them a guide. So you tell us what you want to do. They talk about what they want to do. Is we ask questions, because probing questions really get them to really begin to think, is this really what I want to do, or is it something else? Then we go ahead and we map it out step by step. What are some of these things that need to be in place so that you can achieve the thing that you said that you want? So we talking about smaller goals and, bite-sized goals. Then we go to the bigger goals, set timelines for them so that they can follow those steps to be able to achieve them. And then we celebrate through the process, because that's a big thing. Many times we are not celebrating it, and we're ashamed to even celebrate, because we tell ourselves, I don't want to show off, or I don't want to brag. But it's good that you celebrate the steps, because you have moved into another level. And then we take them through that process, and then we give them the full execution plan. And then we're there to follow up. There's accountability in it too as well. So we're working with you, checking in. We're going to push you to make sure that you're able to execute. And then we take you through the full thing. So one of the things that I like to do, I like to apply the 5 senses to your strategy as a visionary strategist. So I want you to be able to see, touch, hear, feel, and smell. And what that really means is, if you say that this is something you're in pursuit of, then I need those photos in every area of your home. For me, currently right now, me and my sister, we live together, and she gets so mad with me because I have everything all throughout the house. If I said I'm looking for a new house, yes, I have the pictures in the kitchen, they're in the laundry room, they're in the bedroom, they're in the bathroom. From the time you come in, they're in the living area. Yeah, from the time you open the door, it says Kamisha is a millionaire. And many times when people come over, they're like, oh, Kamisha's a millionaire. I said, I receive, because now you're speaking things over my life. Coming into agreement with what I'm saying. So I help those persons know, let's create that. So you're going to write it down. That's the first step. Then you're going to create a vision environment. Everything that you said you're in pursuit of, we make those pictures around. We put the pictures on your phone, put the pictures on your laptop, you put the videos there. You're doing consistent work. And then you have a moment where you begin to just sit and just visualize yourself. Then we go out into that place. So if you say, okay, I want to have a new car, let's go and test drive the car. Not just say you want to have the car. That's one of the things that I did. I went and test drove my car. I didn't have any money. They didn't know I didn't have any money. And then I placed an order, and I still didn't know how I was going to get the money. But the car is parked outside today. I did that because that was what I taught them. So I have to now do those things. So we take them through those stages, help them to go through those 5 stages. And that's how the visionary strategist comes in. And then for the life purpose coaching now, it's really more of that personal level, because it has a lot to do with like your self-esteem and your self-confidence and where you are, where you see yourself at, helping them to connect the dots for their purpose. So we spend a lot of time with taking them through that, and we have to unearth a lot of trauma. So many times that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of things people said to them, a lot of things that people did. And I didn't quite understand why God was pulling me that way, because I'm like, okay, I'm telling everybody I'm a visionary strategist, but when people visit my page, they're probably thinking, oh, she's more into like healing and that kind of stuff, because I have the show with Battered Bros and the other stuff. But then when God really explained to me, it's like, how can you really help them if they themselves are in bondage? You can't help them or take them to a place where they can execute a vision if they're still tied up with their past. So now that's why we have to go through that healing process, get them to be delivered from that, and then push them now into their purpose and their vision. And that's how they walk out. So the way how I do things is a bit different than the average visionary strategist, because they're going to just focus on that. But I have realized that has been a disconnect in trying to get them just to do those things if I don't deal with the past that they're themselves they're not even aware. And then you listen to them and you hear them make certain comments, you go, oh, that's why, because your mother said that, or your dad did that, this happened, and that's why you're in that space. So we deal with that, and that's how all of that comes together.
Okay, well, how do you feel? You know how they say hang with winning people? You see what I mean? Like for me, like as far as like business goes, like I really gear towards my best friend Calandra. What do you think? But sometimes, people feel like, you don't want to tell your, left hand what your right hand is doing and things like that. For me, it's like, you know how sometimes when you talk out some situations or talk out an idea, when you're talking to someone else, something may click for you that maybe you didn't think about. As far as your journey and when you're working with other women, do you encourage them to find somebody within their circle who maybe like thinking like them, or maybe in a spot where they're already where you're trying to go? Or should that person just stay self-centered, if that's the proper word, and work with you and work on themselves without trying to just, drown somebody out on what their ideas are?
I like that question, because that's really a great question, because many people are struggling with that. One of the things that I encourage them to do, like, you don't speak too soon. If you're in a stage where you're now still developing, that's not a stage where you begin to speak. You speak after the development has occurred, because you can speak too soon and then you can find that that whole process can crumble. Because sometimes people can get ahead of themselves. We have a terminology here. We say in Barbados, you're a bit too forthright. And when something's not right and you're forcing it, and then many times that's it with persons, because I've seen in coaching some people, they start to get some clarity and then they run off and they start to tell the world, I'm like, hey, hold on, you're still
Wait a
not,
minute.
so if you're not healed, now you're gonna start to damage other people, because now you think that you've become the expert. Now you want to help people and you're still in the process of being helped. So I teach them how to stay there, get developed, and then you can then share on it, because you're going to have your journaling is important. So they journal the process that they're going through. So that's who you're speaking with. If someone else is in that space with you who you brought along, then yes, you can share openly with them, because they're going through it with you, so they can relate. But if it's not someone who is there, I don't recommend that they share it. I recommend that they also, go close with people who have already been there, who have surpassed that, so that they can get the assistance that they need outside of what we may teach, because they may connect with someone outside of me who may be exactly where they were, and they're like, oh, I can learn from them. And that's what I would teach them. But I definitely would say, take your time, focus on getting through the process first. And when you have gotten through that process, then you can speak on it, because you can hinder your process if you speak too soon.
And just to kind of piggyback off of that, what I always like to tell people is to find someone that believes in you more than you believe in yourself, though. Because to me, I think that pushes you forward. Because you are, like, what do they say? I think it's like the 10 people that you surround yourself with the most. You are a makeup of those individuals. So you have to find those people. But a lot of times, if you're working on something, like you mentioned, you don't want to run off and talk too soon. But you find that one person that you can kind of confide in, that one person that believes a lot of times more than you believe in you, you know? Because even me myself, like that's what I had to do, honestly, in order for me to elevate and get to the next level. I had to find that one person that I could kind of lean on that pushed me, even when I felt like I wasn't able to push forward, you know? I'm just saying that to you as my friend, Jamie. Like, find somebody that you, even if that's me or whoever that is, that
Yeah.
push you forward and that believes in you more than what you believe in yourself. Because I do think sometimes need to be able to talk it out. Sometimes I hear it when people say, oh, just keep everything to yourself until you make it, you know? But to me, no, to find somebody. You don't have to go and tell the whole world, no. But you find that one person that you can kind of lean into, and kind of they hear you, and they can even push you even further. You know, make you go even further. Because sometimes we have self-doubt, you know, within ourselves. I think
Of
us
course, yeah.
human beings, you know, we do that. But somebody that can kind of push you, just even they can say one little thing that just pushes you a little bit further, you know. So I think everybody has to find that one person where they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. I think that is so important.
Yes. And then that person really is your coach. So that person can be the coach. So that
Definitely.
where I come in, or
Yep.
that person can also be your therapist too. You can go to your
Yep, that
therapist
is
if
true.
that
Yep.
assistance there. That person can even be your pastor too as well. But it has to be someone who has the expertise. And
Yes.
not just any average person, because sometimes I know because of friendships, we may say, well, I can talk to my friend.
Yeah,
And
true.
sometimes your friend they really can't relate because they really haven't been or exposed to
been
the
there.
things that you
Yeah.
have. And they do mean well. They do
Yeah.
want you to you think, but they really don't have the capacity to assist you. So it's really best that you go to that person and stick to that person, like you said, to push you.
An accountability partner.
Yes.
Accountability partner. There you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, all right. We're gonna give this a stopping point and go for our next episode. So
Until next time.
there is strength in sisterhood.
And supporting sisterhood.
Bye.
Bye.